It's time for another Flying Reporter Aerodrome review, and today we're heading off to somewhere that's got strong connections with one of Hollywood's greatest male stars. Curious? Well, stay tuned.
Our destination is Old Buckenham in Norfolk, 12 miles to the southwest of Norwich. It has one tarmac strip and two shorter grass strips. The airspace in the area is Class G, except for the Norwich Class D to the north. There's a gliding site to the southeast that has a winch launch to 3,186 feet, and there's a mast at just under 900 feet to the northeast. The airfield requires you to obtain prior permission from their website, which is a 10-step process. The website will give you up-to-date information on runways currently in use, weather and the serviceability of the apron and facilities. Once you've submitted your request, you should receive an email which gives you some airfield information and a PDF document of the arrival and circuit procedures.
So, having done my research, I know they don't like you to join overhead. In fact, they actually say overhead joins are prohibited, and that's, I think, because of the noise-sensitive areas around the airfield. They like you to join, if for runway 07 from Snetterton Heath, which I think is an old motor racing circuit. If you're joining for runway 25 from Tacklenest and Mast, now those joins would only really work for a straight-in approach.
If the circuit's active, you could wait until it becomes clear or join on one of the downwind legs. One thing to note though, if you are going to fly the circuit, it's very wide. It even actually leaves the ATZ. This is so traffic avoids the town of Attleborough. I'm about 10 minutes away now, so I'll give them a call.
Old Buckenham Radio, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, 16 miles to the southwest, inbound, request aerodrome information.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, Buckenham Radio, good morning. Runway news 07, left-hand circuit, QFE 1018.
07 left-hand circuit, QFE 1018. Routing to Snetterton Heath, Golf India Victor.
From Snetterton, I joined final for runway 07. This runway has a landing distance of 798 metres. After touchdown, I exited 2/3 of the way up the runway at taxiway Bravo. And then parked on the grass in front of the cafe and radio room. Coming up in a moment, Old Buckenham's links to Hollywood stardom. But first, a reminder that AOPA UK generously sponsors these aerodrome reviews. In fact, without them, I couldn't do this. AOPA is the largest general aviation membership association in the world, and in the UK it's been lobbying on behalf of pilots, instructors, aircraft owners, flight training organisations and other GA-related businesses for more than 50 years. I'm a member because I value the hard work they quietly do to stand up for pilots like me at government and regulatory level. They're also there should I get into any bother. If you would like to join AOPA UK, Flying Reporter followers can get a 25% discount now on new 1- and 2-year memberships by using the QR code or link on your screen or the link in the video description.
Now, I said earlier that Old Buckenham has strong links to Hollywood royalty. I was referring to the actor Jimmy Stewart, who in the 30s, 40s and 50s was famous for films such as It's a Wonderful Life, The Philadelphia Story and Vertigo. Now, during World War II, RAF Old Buckenham was a base for the 453rd Bombardment Group of the US Air Force, and Jimmy Stewart was Group Operations Officer of that group, and he was flying, along with all the other pilots here, the Liberator bombers. So an interesting connection for Old Buckenham.
They have a museum here dedicated to the Bombardment Group, claiming to house the largest collection of 453rd memorabilia in existence. James Clary is the curator.
Jimmy Stewart wasn't the only Hollywood star to be based here during the war.
No, he wasn't. No, we also had Walter Matthau here, who was a ground crew chap, and he actually was a link trainer instructor and radio cryptographer with the 453rd Bomb Group. So yeah, not just one Hollywood legend, two.
What were they doing? What was the group doing? What was their role in the war?
Well, the group was part of the 8th Air Force, and along with the RAF, they're attacking targets in Germany. The 453rd came here originally in January of 44, the air echelon, with the Grand Echelon arriving in December of 43. Now, their first operation was February the 5th, 1944, to the airfield at Tours in France. Now, the 453rd, along with the rest of the 8th Air Force, were part of the striking force against Hitler's Nazi-occupied Europe and Nazi Germany. So yeah, they, along with other groups and that, did an invaluable service to the strategic campaign against Germany in 1944-45 when they were here.
How many aircraft, how many service personnel were based here during the war?
Typically, there was around about 3,000 personnel. Aircraft-wise, that fluctuated between losses and what temp operations were, but normally there was around about 68, 70 aircraft here. And per mission, they would launch 40 aircraft, 4 reserve, 3 squadrons of 12 to make 36.
Were there many casualties?
Unfortunately, yeah. When the 453rd came over here in early 44, the temp operations against Europe and Germany intensified prior to the Normandy invasion, the preparation for that. So consequently, they suffered grievous losses in the first 3 or 4 months they're actually over at Old Buckenham. With operations over Europe and Germany, one of the worst problems that they used to face over Europe was the weather, and in the UK. Weather was always appalling. So takeoff accidents were commonplace, accidents involving assembly when they were forming up their formations prior to crossing the English coast to across to Europe. Again, mid-air collisions, weather, mechanical problems, mechanical difficulties, mechanical failure. These are all stacked against the crews. And these were young guys and that. So sadly, in those first 3 or 4 months, they did suffer grievous losses. A lot of the group was missing or destroyed a lot or shot down or accidents within probably the first 3 or 4 months. Not many guys got through those first 25 missions, which is a sad fact of the 8th Air Force operations over Europe.
The museum is dedicated to keeping the memories of those brave young men alive. It's open Friday to Sunday from 10 till 4 and other times by arrangement. Admission is free. Old Buckenham operates an air-ground communication service Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. At other times you'd make traffic calls on the air-ground frequency, but PPR is still required. I came in on a Saturday and I could pay my fees and book back out again using the iPad in the air-ground room, or use the link in the email they sent me. On days where the air-ground isn't staffed, there's a different arrangement.
So people can visit Monday to Thursday, but it's a bit of a different setup.
Absolutely, yeah, and when we can, we would go on the radio. If we had a lot of aircraft PPR'd, etc., I would start giving a radio service. But the realities of the situation are that we cannot have the full facets of a licensed aerodrome 7 days a week and not go bust very quickly. So what we have devised over time is a self-service setup. So there is an area of the airfield that we go to very, very close to the normal control sign booking in point when we are licensed, for want of a better expression, and that's got self-service drinks and snacks. There are QR codes, apps and all sorts of things in order to book out your onward journey, which you can also do with AeroPS. And the idea is that you would go wherever you see the control sign. But if you come along Friday, Saturday and Sunday, we have all the facets of licensed aerodrome, special category RFFS. We've got 3 appliances, the museums, etc., etc.
During the summer, there's ample parking space on the grass, but the ground becomes too soft to taxi on in the winter, and the airfield then can only accept around 6 visitors at a time, which it parks on its small, hard apron. This apron has tie-downs, and if a visitor desperately needs to shelter their aircraft in a hangar overnight, perhaps because of weather, they say they'll do their best to help. In terms of local transport, there are cab firms that serve the airfield, and there's a station in the neighbouring village with train services to Norwich, Cambridge and London. Old Buckenham is possibly best known for its annual air show. The 2023 event is on the 29th and 30th of July. It features the Red Arrows, an RAF Typhoon, the B-17 Flying Fortress, the Sally B, and a Lancaster bomber. They also hope to feature a display of electric aircraft, something Old Buckenham is leading the way on.
Looking to the future of aviation, you became, I think, the first airfield in the UK to have a charging point for electric aircraft.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be 2 years old in a couple of months' time. And it was basically put in place and was running for the air show in 2021. And we promulgate, as you'll see on our website, we put a per kilowatt hour price next to our avgas price. And when you PPR, you can select to book to have electricity. And I think we were the first to do that as well. So it was the first publicly available charger. And there is one at the moment, but we have planning permission for an additional 5 of them. We also have a taxiway system that's got planning permission to serve them. And we also have earmarked an area to the side of that powered by them for a hydrogen electrolysis production system as well. So we want to be, as quickly as the technology is available, able to offer SAF, electricity and hydrogen.
The airfield is also home to the Nuncats project, a non-profit social enterprise that aims to connect the world's remote communities in an affordable, sustainable way using their rugged electric Skyjeep that made its maiden flight in January 2023.
What we're looking at is the first of the electric Skyjeeps. The Americans coined the term Skyjeep originally for the Zenith 701, the baby brother of this. But now the term sort of universally refers to any of the Zeniths. They call them Skyjeeps because it's riveted sheet metal and it's designed to, be abused out in the bush. And we just stuck electric on the front of it, hence the electric Skyjeeps. So essentially, obviously it hasn't got its cowls on at the minute because they're in the hangar. Firewall aft, it's near enough a standard CH750. That's your motor, all of 20 kilos. I mean, we run that at 100 horsepower. But in sort of automotive ratings, you'd call that a 300 horsepower motor. Pretty power dense little package. The motor controller sits underneath the battery modules under there. 2 battery modules up front to get the weight right, and then 2 battery modules in each wing where the fuel tanks would normally go.
What's the application?
It will be available to people who want to convert their sport planes for pottering around on a Sunday, but that's only really there to support the idea that an endurance of 40 minutes is really useful in a lot of parts of the world where roads are terrible and there's jungles and swamps in the way. So really, the ultimate aim is to facilitate all the humanitarian support by doing something which is interesting to people who fly for fun. Light aircraft already play quite an important role in the humanitarian aid distribution, and by decoupling it from high quality refined petroleum, essentially, you can use existing microgrids of solar and renewable power that is how a lot of the world gets their energy, and use that as your sort of source of primary energy, and create nodal transport networks underneath the current capability at a much lower cost.
What an amazing and worthwhile project. I look forward to seeing how the Nuncats team get on in the coming years. If you're still flying a gas guzzler like me, you'll be pleased to know that Old Buckenham here still sells Avgas 100 low lead. It's generally only available Friday to Sunday, but other times by arrangement.
So, the cafe then. It's called the Liberator, named after the bombers that were based here, of course. I think it's under new ownership at the moment, and they've kind of spruced it up a little bit, I suppose, or at least made the menu a little bit more bistro and less greasy spoon. So having a look at the menu, the usual breakfasts, which are served until 11:30, Friday through Sunday, I believe. You can have a breakfast bap, you use sausage, egg and bacon bap, crumpets with eggs, scrambled, poached or fried, or a full English breakfast. Looking at lunch menus, they've got the Liberator burger. Apparently it's locally reared beef, cheese, mustard, ketchup, raw onions, chips and coleslaw. The blue burger, which has got Stilton cheese, bit of a twist. There's quiche of the day, pie of the day, ham, eggs and chips, and a whole selection of toasties as well. I did notice that there was some interesting drinks here. What was it I saw there? Some gin and some pina colada, was it? Or something, or Pimm's, I think, was available. So if you're interested in something a little bit more alcoholic and you're not the person flying, then obviously you could take advantage of that. Price-wise, yeah, it's all within the price range that I would expect it to be, so no shockers there.
Before we close this review, it's worth mentioning that Old Buckenham has a popular flying school offering lessons in Cessna 152s and 172s. It also sells aerobatic experience flights in an extra 200.
The last time I was at Old Buckenham was 7 years ago, and I was pretty much a newbie PPL back then. It's good to return, having got a few more hours in my logbook. Thanks to the team here for accommodating me and looking after me during my visit. If you'd like me to come and visit your airfield, then do get in touch through my website. And if you're looking for places to visit, why not go to my website as well? Look at the Aerodrome review section. There's a map of places giving you inspiration of places to go and see.
The Flying Reporter Aerodrome review has been sponsored by AOPA UK. Don't forget to join AOPA using my special discount link on your screen or in the video description. I'll say goodbye for now and see you next time. Fly safely, my friends.